Okay, sorry for the delay, guys. What is going on? This is Matt, and I'm trying to talk about comic books. Seem to be having a little bit of a connection issue, but I think we're okay now. So I'm going to flip it over, and yep. So I still don't have a little thing to fix this right here, but we're going to get that done. But we're going to forget about that, guys. Welcome to episode 3 of Comics Daily Weekly, the weekly version of my daily Twitter account where I talk about comics. If it sounds weird, it's because it is, but we have fun anyway. So if you're new to the show, I run a Twitter account called Comics Daily Weekly, which you will see on the screen in just a minute. I probably should put it on this one. And every day I read an old school Marvel comic. Maybe we might bring in some new comics one day. But right now, what I've been doing is going through the Silver Age of Marvel. Started 3 months back. Started with some Amazing Spider-Man. What up, JW? You're a nerd. Started with Amazing Spider-Man. Started pulling in some other titles, and now we are reading 6 titles a week from the Golden Age. From the Silver Age of Marvel Comics. We're at October 1966. So every week is another month of titles. Last week we did September 1966, and this week we're doing October. This week's titles include Amazing Spider-Man number 41, Tales of Suspense number 82, Daredevil number 21, Avengers number 33, Strange Tales number 149, and Fantastic Four number 55. Those were all published in October of 1966. Obviously, there were more books published back then. X-Men, Journey into Mystery, Tales to Astonish, Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos, and a couple others I feel like I'm forgetting, but I'm not reading them all. I'm just reading the ones that I want to read. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to talk about each issue, just go through the story, just talk about some fun stuff, some trends, some, character appearances. We've got a cool one here in just a second, and we're going to have some fun. So yeah, just let me know what you think. If you want to talk about anything, I'm going to flip over to Amazing Spider-Man number 41 is where we're going to get started. This is the first appearance of the Rhino. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty notable. I'm actually, Rhino is not Spider-Man's main bad guy, but everybody knows that Rhino is one of his main villains, right? And it's kind of strange that it took 41 issues for him to premiere, but it did. It's funny because Spider-Man is pretty notable for having a rogues gallery full of, I don't want to say animal. What do you say? Full of animals. You got the rhino, the vulture. How am I blanking on this? Wow, Dr. Octopus, the lizard. He's got so many. Puma, which I don't think we'll even get to for a long, long time. But he's got so many villains that are animal themed, I should say. That's a much better way to say it. And here is another one. So this issue basically. Hold on. Marvel Unlimited on the website likes to do whatever it wants to do, regardless of what I tell it to do. So basically, oh no. I'm also I seem to be having some connection troubles too, which is why I got a little bit late start. I got to get better hardware. Better route. I've got a better router and all that stuff. I just got to get it hooked up because I'm having some trouble. There we go. Peter Parker buys a motorcycle. So that happens. This page also, I did make a note of this page. The minute I went from here to here, and one thing real quick, the goal is to release this as an audio podcast. So if this episode ever gets to that point and you hear me talking about here to here and you can't see it, I apologize. But basically, it's the second page. As soon as I flipped from the first main page to the second page, the first thing I noticed is that is just a wall of text. That is a lot of words to read. These old comics are very verbose. They're known for having just a lot of words. Everybody says every single thing that they're doing. And it's sort of a pain. These old comics take a long time to read because of pages like this right here. But anyway, Peter Parker buys a motorcycle And he actually, which is weird because it's established that he doesn't know how to drive. Like, whenever probably, I don't know, I can't remember what issue the Spider-Mobile appears in. It's going to be quite a while from now. It's going to be at least a year from right now because we only cover 1 month every week. So it's going to take a while to get there. It's established that he doesn't know how to drive, but yet he's got a motorcycle here. He dials up JJJ to help basically put in a good word for him so he can get a loan at the bank. Jonah reluctantly does it. He does it for his own selfish reasons. Come on now. You can do this. You can do this. There you go. John Jameson, who is Jonah Jameson's son, his heroic astronaut son, he's in town. He's visiting. And he recounts his first encounter with Spider-Man, which actually happened in Amazing Spider-Man #1, how Spider-Man saved him from a crashing shuttle pod, basically. And Jonah laments this. Jonah doesn't want his son, John, to think Spider-Man's a hero, because obviously he thinks Spider-Man is a menace. But interesting enough, right here, and I'll double-click on this, John Jameson, at the apogee of my orbit after completing my spacewalk, when I re-entered the capsule, I found that some mysterious spores had drifted inside with me. So keep this panel in this story in mind, because this story carries over into next week as well. So keep that in mind. John Jameson's coming back from a mission in space, and he gets covered in some mysterious spores. Some mysterious space spores, right? Everything seems fine. They don't seem to be affecting him, but he does have a couple of government men, top men, accompanying him, because this is silly, and this is even sillier. It'll be sillier next week when we talk about Amazing Spider-Man 42, which is the one I read today for next week. But he's being escorted around by two fellas because the government is scared that other opposing governments might try to kidnap John Jameson because he's covered in these spores, and they're afraid that these opposing governments might want to know the secrets of these spores. Even though he seems fine, everybody just assumes that these mysterious spores that he got in space are going to grant him some kind of powers. Seriously. You know, if that happened today in real life, you know, they would be in quarantine. Sure, they'd be in quarantine. Sure, they would have a lot of tests run. But everybody would be thinking, I hope it doesn't make them sick, or I hope it doesn't negatively affect their health. But in comic books, we're just waiting for him to get superpowers, and we better escort him because we don't want opposing governments to discover the secrets of these spores and somehow use that to create some kind of super soldier, I suppose. It's pretty funny. So keep that in mind for this story and next week as well. Here, though, this is cool. This is the first appearance of the Rhino right here, which is pretty neat. So the Rhino, he figures into this story because he's actually been hired to capture John Jameson by an opposing government because they want to learn the secrets of these space spores, right? So, I don't know why they assume that these spores are going to be something meaningful, but everybody just thinks they are. So the Rhino is unstoppable. In this issue, we don't get his origin. We don't get his real name. Anything like that. He's just a big dude in a Rhino suit that's super strong and bullets bounce off of him, as you can see on this page. He's making short work of these... Rhino's making short work of these guards. He's trying to get to New York so he can get to John Jameson. We flash back. Betty Brant is back in town. She meets up with Peter, and they try to rekindle that old flame. They try to see if there's anything there. We haven't seen Betty in a little while, and I don't know how. I think I was okay with that. I mean, Betty's a fine character, but just typical '60s Marvel comics, every title has a love triangle. So, this one had Betty and Liz and Peter. Liz hasn't been in the picture, I think, since high school, which I think was around issue number 28 when he graduated. So now it's Peter and Betty and Ned Leeds, who we all know eventually one day she'll end up marrying. Spoiler alert, it happens at some point. But we won't see that for at least probably a year or two. That doesn't happen for a long time still from where we are. But Peter and Betty, they meet up. They just, they're going to see if there's anything still there because they haven't seen each other in a while. They go out for coffee, and all these months I thought about her, dreamt about her, longed for her. Now she's returned and nothingsville, while she says, whatever we had before, whatever there was between us, it's gone. So my first thought about this was, well, is it gone because they both think the same thing? They both want to feel something for the other person, but then they think that the other one doesn't feel the same way, so they just assume that it's gone. But at the same time, having been in those situations before, you can tell when there's no more spark. So it is what it is. They're Splitsville. They're done. They can't make it work. There's no more attraction there. But the minute, I thought maybe it was on this page. There is... maybe it's at the end. It's funny because the minute Peter realizes that he doesn't have feelings for Betty anymore, he starts realizing he has feelings for Gwen Stacy. We'll see if that pops up at the end of the issue. That's somewhere in here, but I can't remember where. So anyway, they meet up. Ned Leeds appears again. So that's a little bit of foreshadowing right there. Oh, but then on the news, here comes the Rhino. The Rhino is heading for New York, and actually he may already be there. Actually, he is already there. And so Spider-Man's got to stop him, right? Who else can do it besides Spider-Man? And then from here on, it's pretty much just a fight. I was looking for the page where it's explained why the Rhino is there. Let's see. It's somewhere in here, but basically that's why the Rhino's here, is to capture John Jameson. And there he is, carrying Colonel Jameson as though he's weightless. He'll be gone by the time the police get here, so it's up to old Spidey again. And the rest of it, this is pretty cool. I did make a note of this in my tweet, in that is the first appearance of the Rhino running headfirst into a wall. We're going to see that a whole bunch. Oh, you know what? Something I actually did want to point out too, before we get to the big action scene, is right here. So Peter is, thinking about Betty. Sorry for jumping around like this. Peter's thinking about Betty, and he wants to clear his mind. He wants to free up his mind. So right here in this panel, it says, "I wish I could slip into my Spidey suit and do some rooftop swinging to clear away the cobwebs." So I made the hilarious observation, because that's what I do, is make hilarious observations, that how ironic is it that Spider-Man wants to get rid of the cobwebs? Don't spiders want cobwebs? Wouldn't they want more cobwebs? But here we are. Anyway, that's hilarious. I'm sure you guys are laughing. And in fact, in case you're not, there. I'll add that instead. All right, so back to our fight. Spider-Man versus the Rhino. The Rhino captures John Jameson. The Rhino's really strong. Headbutts into a wall. Spider-Man using his spider agility to avoid him. So basically, like I said, this whole thing is just a large part of this issue is just a big fight between Spider-Man and Rhino. It's kind of hard to describe. They're just going at each other. And let's see. Let's find something. Let's find where something changes. They're fighting, they're still fighting. This is really an action-packed issue. They're still fighting. And they're still fighting. And eventually, Spider-Man puts him down. Right? He puts him down, well, not even with really any trickery like he has to do sometimes. He just kicks crap out of him. Eventually. It takes a while. And that's pretty much the issue. This one's tough to talk about without spilling into the next issue as well, because the Rhino does figure into the next issue, number 42, and he absolutely figures into the one after that, number 43, which I won't have read till next Sunday. So, it's kind of hard to really dissect this one because it's basically just a big fight between Spidey and Rhino. Rhino trying to capture John Jameson. He does. Spidey manages to save him. John Jameson's still getting escorted around by these two government types because of the space spores that are maybe probably going to give him superpowers at some point. So, like I said, that feeds into next issue. So this is only kind of the first half of a small story here. But right in here somewhere, I thought Peter mentioned something about it where, he said, I thought he mentioned something about as soon as he realizes he doesn't have feelings for Betty, he has feelings for Gwen. But here he is. He's rolling up on Harry and Gwen and Flash on his new motorcycle, and he's acting a little bit different towards Gwen. He's not so, I don't want to say cold, because all the other times that it's appeared that he's been cold to Gwen, it's not because he didn't care. He had a lot on his mind. That's back when Aunt May was gonna die if she was, got any kind of surprises whatsoever. But so he had the weight of the world on his shoulders, but now he's feeling good. He's talking to Gwen. Something tells me my luck is about to change, is what he says as he's talking to Gwen. And this is where he's kind of playing it cool, man. And she says that she didn't see him as the motorcycle type. He says, "Lady, there's a lot you don't know about me, but stick around. I'm going to educate you." She says, "What on earth has changed you so?" "Nothing, Gwen. Maybe the real me is just beginning to break through." But then he thinks, those eyes, those lips, she's too much. So more Betty and Gwen. More Peter and Gwen fun to come. Oh, one more thing. Look at this. He's got a personalized license plate that said that with the initials PP on it. Although I just now realized if you were a less mature fellow than me, you could make a joke. PP. But so that's pretty cool. I guess he got his own personalized license plate. Sure. But that's it. I mean, nothing too major here. Let me check my notes to make sure I didn't point anything out profound that I forgot about. But this carries forward into next issue. Next issue is actually pretty special because it's the first full appearance of Mary Jane Watson. Even though it doesn't happen until the very end, that's going to open up the door for yet another love triangle between Peter, Mary Jane, and Gwen. And we all know how that ends up working out, with him being with Gwen for a long time, and then she dies, and then he marries Mary Jane. And then Joe Quesada undoes it all because he doesn't like it, but we don't talk about that. But this was fun. This was an action-packed issue. First appearance of Rhino. What's funny about all of these first appearances of all of these villains and semi-major heroes even, is that they don't get, or a lot of them anyway, don't get right into the not only the origins but even the names. Like I think about Hawkeye over in Avengers. We still don't know what his name. I mean, we know, but at the time in September, October 1966, we still didn't know that his name was Clint Barton. This issue didn't reveal what Rhino's origin was, and they don't talk about it next issue either. So it's kind of funny how these major characters that we all know today, we knew very little about them back then because they didn't bother to reveal their origin for a long time. So that's, I don't know. I just thought that was kind of an interesting thing. But so more to come on this story right here. But we are going to flip over, if I can get it changed here to, I've got these out of order. We're going to flip over to Tales of Suspense number 82. This one, Tales of Suspense has been running for the last 23 issues. It's been an Iron Man, Captain America double feature. And let me flip over to my notes here for this one. This one is pretty simple as well, because the Iron Man story in this, literally, just like Amazing Spider-Man that we just talked about, this one is really just, or the Iron Man story in this issue, is really just a big fight between Iron Man and Titanium Man. So this first page right here, Iron Man taking a big swing at Titanium Man. This is basically the whole issue, the whole story in this. I mean, there's nothing really... that page isn't loading in. There's nothing really notable here. They just fight. The entire issue is really it. I mean, you can see as we page through these, there's a crowd on the ground watching them. Happy and Pepper come in to watch as well. But as you can see, as we're paging through these, they're just fighting. Senator Byrd, he is right now at this time in the story, he is to Iron Man what Jonah Jameson is to Spider-Man. So he's the government official. We talked about it last week, who is bound and determined to learn the secrets of Iron Man's armor. He thinks Tony Stark is a flake because Tony's always running off being Iron Man when he should be running his company. That kind, it's that typical story. But he wants to remove he wants to cancel all of Tony's government contracts. He was able to get Stark Industries shut down. He was able to freeze Tony's bank account, remove his access to his money, which seems a little bit weird. Seems like he's overreaching there a little bit because Tony is still a private citizen after all, even though he's made his money with government contracts, but whatever. So we see a little bit of Senator Byrd there checking out this fight. Excuse me. But yeah, they're just fighting. Literally, that's every page. They're fighting. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's not a bad thing at all. I mean, I love a good fight between a hero and a villain. I'm just saying there's not a whole lot of nuance to this. There's not a whole lot to dissect here because they're just going at each other. One thing... Oh... So this is weird. Let's look at this. This is funny. Something we could look at. Iron Man turns a dial on his head, and it makes these wheels pop out in his boots. So it says, how could Ivan ever guess that when I rotate my ear discs 1/4 turn, it causes my mechanized roller wheels to snap into place? Now, we've actually seen him do this before. But it didn't look like this. We've actually seen Iron Man, he didn't have enough juice to fly, so he would pop roller skates out of his boots. These are a little bit different because this is just one single wheel on each foot, I guess. I don't know really how that's supposed to help him really do anything, but that looks silly. It really does. Not gonna lie. The art in this is great, by the way. Gene Colan is back at art duties on this, so I really like the artwork. But I don't like Iron Man with one wheel on each foot. Skate wheels powered by built-in motors. You said it. They're the perfect gift for the man who's got everything. So yeah, there's more funny stuff. One thing I will say about this fight, and one reason I actually like this fight pretty well, is that not one time did Iron Man complain about running out of power. That was such a nice change. And I really hope that this is, this is the start of, I really hope that's the beginning of the end of him complaining about that every issue. Because I want to say, last issue, he didn't complain about it either. He wasn't running out of juice then either. Although it is kind of strange because he hasn't done anything up to now to make that problem go away. He hasn't improved his armor. He hasn't added any more battery packs. That's what those two sort of round half globes on his hips are. Those are extra battery packs, right? So you think you've got your iPhone, and a lot of people put a case on it that has a built-in battery so that they can charge the battery in the case, which then charges the phone. That's what those things are on his hips. Those are extra power packs. That's why he has those on this classic armor. So he hasn't really done anything up to this point to resolve his power problems. He just hasn't had them. I guess Stan Lee got really tired of writing that in, which is good because I'm tired of reading it. So they're just going at each other. Now, there is a weird thing that Titanium Man does here. He has a paralysis ray, which he shoots out of his forehead. Okay. Iron Man says it's impossible. Nothing can paralyze me. So he goes on to explain that by the way my transistors are reacting, It's a type of electrical force. Short-circuiting my vital power sources. Okay, so he's got a beam. He's got some kind of beam or ray, which every villain has. You see the word ray in every other issue back then. But okay, fine. Oh, he's still on his wheels, by the way. He's still on his. I didn't notice that. He's still on his skating wheels. But okay, so Titanium Man has some kind of beam that messes with the electronics in Iron Man's armor and shuts him down. Okay, fair enough. That's fine. I can buy that, right? Well, but then Iron Man is able to disrupt that. He pulls a live loose wire out of his pants. Literally, not out of his pants, but out of one of those power packs that I was telling you about. And he short circuits the beam, the ray. So he's able to move again. But then, the very last panel is Titanium Man then uses that same beam on Pepper. Which I couldn't figure out, because if it's some kind of beam that disrupts the electronics in Iron Man's armor, how does it mess with Pepper? She's not wearing any armor. I guess maybe you could explain it away as it messes with, the body's natural bioelectricity or whatever. I'm not a smart man. I don't know if that's the right thing to say. But the very last panel, Titanium Man says, "Don't move, Iron Man. Unless you surrender, I'll increase the voltage and the girl will be electrocuted," the girl being Pepper. Iron Man thinks, "I have no choice. No matter what, I can't let anything happen to the girl I love." Remember, he loves her. He loves Pepper. And Happy loves Pepper. And Pepper loves Tony. But they can't be together because Tony wears his armor all the time. Actually, that's another reason why this issue was pretty good. The Iron Man half of this was pretty good, is because there's no mention of the love triangle between Tony, Pepper, and Happy. This was just a straight up, what is this, 15 page, I don't know what page you're on. It's like, 12, page 12. It's a straight up 11 or 12 page Iron Man, Titanium Man fight. With some pretty cool art by Gene Colan. Titanium Man's armor looks better than it did when he first appeared. I liked it. It's a good one. So then we flip over to the Captain America story. The Maddening Mystery of the Inconceivable Adaptoid. This was pretty good too. Now this one's a little bit more cerebral, if you will. Starts off with Cap in Avengers Mansion. So there's surprisingly a lot of scenes of Cap just chilling in Avengers Mansion. This isn't the first time we've seen Cap just hanging out. Jarvis bringing him tea or coffee or whatever. He does it a lot, actually, more than you would think for Captain America. Now, that doesn't mean that he likes it. Captain America wants to be where the action is, but sometimes there's nothing going on, Sometimes they're just... I didn't mean to do that. So, he's just hanging out, reminiscing about the good old days, looking at pictures of Bucky, thinking about the war, that kind of stuff. But then wait a second. There's a stranger in Avengers Mansion. What's this guy? He's shooting at Captain America. Of course, Cap's got the shield. But who is it? Agent Axis. The scourge of World War II. But it can't be. You're dead. I saw you die myself. Remember, this is 1966. World War II ended in 1945. So Cap's like, oh man, that was weird. And then he disappears, right? That was weird. It isn't possible. He couldn't just vanish before my eyes, and yet how could I have seen him in the first place? How could I have fought a man who's been dead for 25 years? Good question. After all this time, after all my many battles, is the strain finally beginning to get to me? Can this be some form of long-delayed battle fatigue? I don't know. PTSD maybe? I don't know. Maybe that's the 60s version of that. Or am I simply losing my mind? But then the TV turns on. He didn't do anything. The warlord known as Fang, which, again, just keep in mind, this was written in the 60s, okay? But he too died in the blaze of battle in Hiroshima when the bomb was dropped. I must be going mad, right? So Cap's seeing a lot of things. This was weird. Cap's kind of stumbling around the mansion. He doesn't know what's going on. He feels like he's losing his mind. And I want to say, I cannot quite put my finger on which issue, but I want to say this isn't the first time that Cap thinks he's seeing things from the past. As I was reading this, like I said, I can't remember when or where it happened, but as I was reading this, I was thinking, wait a minute, I've read this before. This has happened to Cap before. He's gone through this before. But all of a sudden, he's in a car with Bucky. Well, what? Bucky died 25 years ago, right? So let's tell you what. Let's zoom. Let's go to the next page, and it's pretty cool. So I mean, we're back in now. The first few issues of Tales of Suspense that featured Captain America in the back half featured his exploits during World War II. So we've seen some of this stuff before, but we're seeing it again. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, remember, at the beginning of this story, Cap was hanging out in Avengers Mansion, sipping tea, hanging out with Jarvis, looking at old pictures. And all of a sudden, he's back in World War II with Bucky, and they're fighting Nazis. They're fighting bad guys. But then, all of a sudden, they aren't. It's like, what's going on, man? Cap really is going crazy. What is happening? And then, Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch show up. Well, how is that possible? Because they are in the mountains trying to get their powers back. We actually haven't seen them in the pages of Avengers in several issues. But all of a sudden they show up, but then they don't, because it's actually not them. It's actually Jarvis, who is holding a passed out Captain America, not Quicksilver. What's going on? This panel kind of struck me because Jarvis is a unit. He's holding Cap like he weighs like 3 ounces. I don't know. So anyway, Cap has lost his mind, right? He doesn't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on either. Until, oh yeah. Quick pause, quick pin in that. This issue actually ties in with Strange Tales number 149. Yes, number 149, which I believe we are talking about in a few minutes. So we'll be talking about Strange Tales number 149 here in a minute as well. But it was really cool to see them sort of tie into each other. So this little story kind of shows that, remember last week when we talked about AIM and them, and how they're kind of the same group? Well, we see here that them or AIM, same group, they stole LMD of Nick Fury. So keep that in mind as well. Anyway, I did make a note of this because Jarvis, Cap's worn out, and Jarvis apparently puts Captain America in the Wasp's bed. That is the tiniest bed. What kind of bed is it? That's a child's race car bed. What kind of bed does a grown man lay in and his legs hang off like that? Oh, I just thought that was funny. That tickled me pink. Anyway, so Jarvis lays him down. But wait a second. If we read closely, Jarvis is acting weird. I was beginning to fear that the hypno-sedative I slipped into his coffee, it's coffee, not tea. I slipped into his coffee would never affect him. What? What is this? Before carrying out my mission, I'd better check on the real Jarvis. Everything is fine. He will remain unconscious that way for the remainder of the evening, thus giving me all the time I need to do what is expected of me, for I have been created never to fail. And so the time has come for me to radiate my own form of sheer undiluted energy, thereby transforming myself into my natural state. This is his final form. A blank, featureless... thereby transforming myself into my natural state. A blank, featureless, artificial human form, known only as the Adaptoid. I just like reading it that way. So, Jarvis, what... At the beginning of the story, when Cap was chilling, drinking coffee that Jarvis brought him, that wasn't the real Jarvis. That was this Adaptoid that was created by them/Hydra using the their own technology for creating artificial beings, combined with the LMD technology that they stole or will steal from Shield, because I think these issues are a little bit out of order. But yeah, so there's this creature called the Adaptoid who can basically mimic any person. And on the last page, he is taking the form of Captain America. Cap still on the tiny bed. Cap is still on the tiny bed, as we can see here. But fake Cap is taking his shield. So tomorrow, on August 31st, I'll be reading Tales of Suspense number 83. And we'll figure out what the Adaptoid does now that he has Cap's face. And then we'll talk about that next Sunday. So that was sort of that was an interesting contrast to the Iron Man story, because it was just a simple Iron Man versus Titanium Man fight. Nothing to see here except just a knockdown, drag out fight. But then you have this weird psychedelic story with Captain America seeing all these weird things that he doesn't understand. So that was kind of a nice issue to, you get the best of both worlds. You get just a real simple beat 'em up story, and then you get something a little bit more cerebral as well. So we'll see what comes with that. Next up, we've got Daredevil number 21. Now remember last issue, the Owl, or his goons rather, kidnapped Matt Murdock because the Owl had kidnapped a judge. The judge that had put the Owl away at the end of Daredevil number 3, he kidnapped that judge because he basically wanted to put that judge on trial. But it was like a fake trial in a fake court. And he wanted Matt Murdock to be the judge's lawyer. I can't remember his name. Judge somebody. Judge somebody. That sounds pretty good. So they're still on the Owl's Island. I think it's called the Eyrie. I think it should be called the Owlland. Get it? The Owl's Island is the Owlland, maybe? I don't know. They're still on that island. But this time, remember at the end this is Gene Colan on pencils here as well. Gene Colan is one of the more well-known, long-running Daredevil artists, I should say. So we'll see a lot of him over the coming weeks and months. But at the end of last issue, remember Daredevil was caught in a cage. The Owl caught him in a cage, right? And remember, they're in this castle on the Owl's Island. So Daredevil's trapped. I don't want to go panel by panel. The Daredevil is trapped in a cage, and he's going to get dropped down. That kind of looks like at the end of Empire Strikes Back when Luke's hanging off the thing and Vader's talking to him, and he falls down that big hole. This is kind of what that looks like. So basically, the Owl is going to drop him out of this cage and down a hole and kill him, I guess. Now, this drives me crazy, and I made note of this 2 or 3 times in my tweets about this. Why can the Owl fly? Or glide, or whatever it is. I don't even know what it is that he does. He flies, he glides, I don't know. He's a portly gentleman. It makes no sense that he can defy gravity like this. Now, I will say that at the end of Daredevil number 3, it shows him gliding. I thought it's because he jumped off of a cliff and the air currents. What's up, Tim? I thought it was because he rode the air currents or something like that. Okay, fine. He jumps off a cliff. There's a lot of air swell going on, and he can ride those currents. But here, he's inside a castle. Tim says he can fly like a bumblebee. Bumblebee shouldn't be able to fly. I mean, I guess, but he doesn't have. I don't know. It's just weird that this dude can glide on air because he's inside a castle here, and he's just hopping up and he's just floating, I guess. He says he's gliding. I don't. It drives me crazy, and he does it several times in this issue, and I can't stand it. I hate the Owl. If for no other reason, the Owl's a lame villain anyway, but I hate him more because he can fly/glide inexplicably. Oh, like a bumblebee, they defy physics by flying. The Owl defies any kind of physics. He defies any kind of good characterization. I hate him. Anyway, so one thing that's cool about this issue, though, and I made note about it, is that I love seeing Daredevil slink around castles, being all stealthy, hiding in the shadows. I like seeing him do that anyway, but it's really cool when he does it in a castle. This is issue number 21, and we've already seen Daredevil in 3 different castles on 3 different occasions. Kind of slinking around, being all sneaky snake, hiding, using his senses to eavesdrop on people or get the drop on people. 21 issues, and he's already been in 3 different castles. But it's cool. I like it. I like seeing Daredevil. I don't know what it is about Daredevil in a castle, but that's a really fun story to me. So, this whole issue, basically, kind of like what we talked about a minute ago with Amazing Spider-Man, and also with the Iron Man portion of Tales of Suspense, this whole issue is basically Daredevil going up against the Owl and his goons in the Owl's castle, trying to escape. That's a pretty cool story, right? The hero's trying to escape being a prisoner in a castle. That's cool. He's fighting the goons. He gets out of the cage. He's fighting the goons. The Owl is getting away. This is weird. And this happens in a lot of comics. I can't remember some of the other ones, but this has happened before where Daredevil whips his billy club, the rope on his billy club, around the Owl's leg and spins him like a top. I love that. I love that imagery. Because if you think about it in real life, if you were to pull that, you would just kind of yank their leg or something. But no, this guy spins. And it's happened before in other titles as well. I think I love seeing that. I think that's so funny. They're fighting. The Owl's getting away. I'm getting to a point here. See, this is cool. Like, they're being chased through a castle, but this castle has weird tunnels. I don't really understand the geography of this castle, but all I know is Daredevil is chasing the Owl, who is doing more gliding. Stop it! Stop gliding! You shouldn't be able to do that. Stop it! Anyway, it drives me crazy, guys, I'm telling you. Daredevil's chasing him. He nearly gets caved. Oh, I forgot. The island is also an active volcano. Because of course it is. So now, not only is Daredevil trying to escape captivity on the island, but now the island is an erupting volcano as well. So he really needs to get off this island. He really has to. This is what I loved here, and I wish I had this picture, but I don't. I'll hold it up to my webcam on my iPad. I did make note of as soon as I turned the page and saw this giant mechanical. So not only is the Owl got the weird hair and he can glide and he's portly, just like an owl, but he also, sticking with the owl theme, he has to have his own mechanical owl as well, because of course he does. The first thing I thought of was, has anybody seen, wait a minute, I messed it up. Has anybody seen the old Clash of the Titans movie with Harry Hamlin? That's the first thing I thought of when I saw that. The what's his name? I think I started with a B. I don't remember. But I made that comparison in the tweet that I sent out about this. I thought that was funny. That's all I could think about was the robotic owl in Clash of the Titans. So, yeah, Daredevil's still trying to get away. He finally catches up to the owl, who turns on his large mechanical owl that Daredevil now has to contend with. This is a pretty action-packed issue as well. Like I said, more. This is all just fighting, which is pretty cool. We don't have to deal with the Matt, Karen, Foggy love triangle in this. This is just pure action, so this is cool. Gene Colan on art is really cool. I really like the way that he draws Daredevil flipping around and being agile. That's one of the things. That's one of the reasons why I really like Daredevil. I love heroes who can move, who are agile, like Daredevil here, Spider-Man, Nightwing, Captain America. I like heroes like that who, Batman as well, but I'm talking like a really, really limber and agile. I love seeing heroes flip around and do stuff like that. So I love seeing how Gene Colan does it. They're fighting, the volcano's getting worse, the castle's falling apart. The owl rides his mechanical owl to safety, but Daredevil catches up with him. And here it is again. The owl gliding for no reason whatsoever. Let's see, what does he say about it? The victory is mine after all. I'm free of the crumbling island and can soar aloft until I reach the mainland. Why? I think I would feel a little bit better about it if I knew, is he flying under his own free will like Superman? Or is he gliding? Is he riding the wind currents or not? Just tell me what he's doing. Please, for the love of all that's sacred, just tell me what he's doing. If I could just know that much, then that would be fine. So, anyway, the owl is gone. Okay, the owl escapes. Daredevil is now sort of riding / piloting, controlling this large mechanical owl. There's the judge that he was kidnapped with last issue. He snatches him up. And I thought this was kind of weird. Like, that's how the issue ends, is them just flying away from the island. So, I guess they'll be fine. Right? If we're lucky, I'll be able to guide this nightmarish contraption to the mainland. And that's it. It wasn't hard, Your Honor, especially with a little help from an erupting volcano. So, yeah. So, that's that. I mean, Daredevil he got away. You know, he's riding the big mechanical owl. It's a good thing. It's, you know, if you think about it, the owl created this mechanical owl to help defeat Daredevil. If he hadn't created it, he may very well have defeated Daredevil, because Daredevil then wouldn't have had the mechanical owl to use to get off the island. So no mechanical owl means Daredevil gets burnt to a crisp on a volcano. So thanks, Owl, for helping escape. I, didn't see that coming. So anyway, that was a fun issue. It was very action-packed. Great art. I hate the owl, but I loved everything else. I thought it was pretty fun. So I'm intrigued, too. So we'll be reading Daredevil number 22 on Tuesday, September 1st. And I'm interested because it says, this seems like a good place as any to bid fond farewell to Daredevil, but let us be ever mindful that next issue, Daredevil will face supervillains galore. That's interesting. Like I said last time, I love seeing heroes who don't have a lot of physical power, like strength and speed and all that stuff, like just or heroes who have a little power, like, if you think comparatively speaking, Spider-Man, sure, he's got powers, but he's not the strongest guy out there. Daredevil has his extra senses and stuff like that, but he's just got he doesn't have any super strength or anything like that. I love seeing heroes like that overcome odds that they shouldn't be able to, or facing off against foes who are more powerful than them, because it's not just about winning a fight. It's having to use your wits, be strategic, being tactical to overcome an enemy who really should, by all intents and purposes, beat you easy. So it's going to be cool to see Daredevil take on a bunch of supervillains. I don't know if it's literally going to be a whole bunch of supervillains, or if maybe he's going to be imagining he's getting attacked by a bunch of people. I don't know. So watch the Comics Daily Twitter account on Tuesday, and we'll see how that plays out. All right. Okay, so Avengers 33. This one, I'll be honest, this one was a tough one for me to read because, and I'm not trying to sound too preachy or political, but this one, and we talked about the Sons of the Serpent last week. This one was tough to read because this one actually sort of felt kind of real world, in that, not because of the superheroes and stuff, but because remember last week, the Sons of the Serpent is a hate group, right? They're not necessarily full of supposed geniuses like AIM, or have a far global reach like Hydra, but they are an organized group of hate mongers. They hate people who aren't from here. They attacked in last issue, and again, I'm not being preachy. I'm just telling you what happened in the comic. Last issue, they attacked somebody who wasn't from America. They attacked an African American man. They're a hate group. And that's what the story is. That's not me reading into anything. That's literally what this story is about. So last issue, they had captured Captain America, and they're essentially blackmailing, I guess that's the right word, essentially blackmailing the rest of the Avengers into kind of supporting them, like making it look like the Avengers should support these guys because they have Captain America held hostage. And of course, everybody's going crazy. How can the Avengers do this? I don't want to do that. There we go. I did make a note here real quick. I just thought the detail in Cap's face in this panel was really good. And again, if you ever listen to this, if this ever makes it out in audio form, sorry that when I reference this or that or a certain panel, you can't see it. But, comics are visual. But I like this because most of the time when we see Cap drawn, the eye holes in his mask are just big enough that line up around his eyeballs. I like this one where the eye holes are a little bit bigger, so we can see a little bit of we see his eyes, but then also a little bit of his face. That's a weird thing to notice, but that's kind of what the point of reading comics like this is that we notice these kinds of things. So not only are we identifying story trends, we're seeing characters develop, but we're also seeing the way comics themselves, the art, not necessarily the art, but just the overall art form, the stories and the art of these comics, we're seeing them evolve over time as well. So we're at the tail end of 1966 here. By the time we get to 1970, 1972, especially in 1975, comics are going to be way different than they are now. So one of the cool things, other than just reading stories about superheroes, is seeing this medium that I love so much evolve, and seeing it evolve in real time as everybody back then saw it evolve. I think that's super cool. So this is one of the observations I made is Captain America, Cap's face has a little bit more detail. He's drawn a little bit different. I just love seeing stuff like that. Don Heck I think this is Don Heck. Looks like him. Yeah, Don Heck is still the artist on this. I don't love his artwork, but it's fine. So Cap is still kidnapped by the Sons of the Serpent. Hawkeye is chilling in Avengers Mansion because he's kind of bummed out. He doesn't know what to do. He can't believe that Goliath told the Attorney General that they aren't going to fight against the Sons of the Serpent. And then, all of a sudden, wait up. 2 members of the Sons of the Serpent are in Avengers Mansion. What's that all about? Hawkeye's going to take him out. But then, oh, no, Goliath says, hey, knock it off. I invited them here. What's going on? Why is Goliath cool with this hate group? I don't get it. We'll find out later. Trust me. It's okay. Oh, wrong way. There we go. So, we've got Goliath, Hawkeye, and the Wasp trying to figure out how to get Cap back. Hawkeye and Goliath kind of fight amongst each other for a couple pages because Hawkeye's always got to be fighting with somebody. There's a meeting at the United Nations. This is a little bit weird because it's just weird to think about the United Nations coming together to talk about one hate group, but here we are. Again, keep in mind, all of these comics obviously were written back in the 60s. So there's a lot of focus on communist Russia and the Soviet Union. There's a lot of focus on communist China, that kind of thing. It's just a product of the time is all it is. It's a little weird to read now, but this is just how it was at the time. Some of these non-American characters aren't really written in the best light, but it is what it is. It's just how it was back then. So we do see in this meeting of the United Nations, I cannot remember this character's name. The royal comes under our rule. See, so here's the leader of the Chinese Communist Party, I guess, is who this is supposed to be. He's General Chen. Okay, thank you. General Chen. Oh, yeah, there's a big to-do about, at the United Nations meeting, he says, America claims to be a land of freedom, and yet they allow the Sons of the Serpent to preach their doctrine of hatred and tyranny on every corner. Well, that's part of our freedom, General Chen. Anyone may say anything so long as he keeps within the law. You come from a land where countless thousands live in abject fear, where they may not speak or read or even think as they please, and you talk of freedom. So, again, there's a lot of talk of communism and that kind of thing here. So, I wanted to point that out because that's going to come back in a minute. So, anyway, Bill Foster runs back in, super pissed at Goliath. So, Bill Foster is the African-American gentleman who was attacked by the Sons of the Serpent last issue. And he's ticked that Goliath is taking their side. You know, like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? You'll see. You'll see, right? All of a sudden, Cap, back at the Sons of the Serpent HQ, Cap is like all cool with the Sons now, right? Let me go over here. It's like, what's this all about? Hail the Sons of the Serpent. Hail the Supreme Serpent. We must banish all foreigners. We must keep the blood of America pure. That is a tough thing to read, especially coming out of Cap's mouth, but we're going somewhere with this. But that's the ideology of this group. That's what they want. They want to keep the blood of Americans pure. They want to banish all foreigners and that kind of stuff. That's what this story is about. That's not me reading in anything. So the Avengers call this big press conference, and they are going to essentially announce their, I don't want to say partnership, but it's a press conference about how the Avengers are going to be in league with the Sons of the Serpent. But it's only Goliath and the Wasp there. Where's Hawkeye? Well, he's infiltrating their base, which it turns out is on a big floating ship hidden in a cloud, just like what Shield, just like the Shield helicarrier. And I thought I made a note of that. Let's see, maybe I didn't. I did think it was kind of cool or kind of silly that I guess back in the day there was a lot of different organizations that had giant ships that could fly and cloak themselves to look like a cloud. But the 60s were a crazy time. Maybe just a lot of people were high back then. I don't know. Anyway, Hawkeye is infiltrating the Sons of the Serpent's HQ. He's taking them all on. This is a couple of cool panels of Hawkeye sort of being a badass, and Hawkeye is sort of coming around. Hawkeye is a little bit more tolerable. He has been a little bit more tolerable in these last couple of issues than he was in the first several issues of that he was in Avengers, because he was always sparring with Cap, and it was annoying. But he's coming around. He's becoming a better character now. And again, that's one of the cool things about reading comics like this, is that we see these characters develop from completely insufferable to being pretty cool. So Hawkeye's up in the clouds fighting the Sons of the Serpent. Goliath and Wasp are having a press conference. They're going to announce their support of the Sons of the Serpent. And they're stalling. Come on, Hawkeye, you gotta, hurry up and do your part. And then, and everybody's amazed that the general public is amazed that the Avengers are taking the side of the Sons of the Serpent, until Goliath finally. The reason I came here is to prove in person that everything the serpents say is a pack of lies. In the name of patriotism, they seek to tear down everything good and decent that America stands for, but they'll never succeed. Our nation was built on freedom, not tyranny, brotherly love, not hatred, justice for all, not bigotry. What's up, Opie? So, the Sons are really mad now. I can't believe you would do that. That's so weird. Now, but then Captain America jumps in. Wait! Don't listen to him. He doesn't speak for all the Avengers. He's betrayed us. What? Why is Captain America saying this stuff? Goliath's lied to you. It's he who's the traitor, but the Sons of the Serpent will defeat him. He'll pay for his treachery. It doesn't make sense. Captain America is accusing a Goliath like this. So, that's weird, right? Captain America? It's Captain America. Why is he teaming up with this hate group? Well, so a big battle starts at this press conference. Nobody knows what's going on. They float back up. This was weird right here. So they escape back up to their headquarters in the sky, I guess, and Goliath sort of rides their floaty thing up with them. Sometimes it's hard to understand what's going on in some of these panels, but that's the gist of it. So anyway, they're fighting the Sons of the Serpent, trying to get to the end here, and lo and behold, would you look? Oh wait, here's something that was weird too. I had to flip back and see if I missed something, because Hawkeye, still at the Sons of the Serpent's base, says no one's been able to get past me yet. But what happened to Natasha? From here on in, it's all up to the Black Widow. Well, we haven't even seen Black Widow since last issue, and that was only for one page. And that was Natasha telling Hawkeye that she was sort of trying to turn over a new leaf. Remember, she broke his window? She broke his window to tell her that she's a good person. That was funny. So anyway, I was like, did I miss a page where Black Widow showed up and said she was going to go to this place with Hawkeye? But no, you're just supposed to assume. It's a big surprise, right? So what happened was when Hawkeye went up to the Sons of the Serpent's base, Black Widow was with him. They didn't know that. We didn't know that either as the reader. But it kind of makes sense because she's a spy, right? So she goes and finds Captain America, the real Captain America. Bum, bum, bum. So the Captain America that came down and accused Goliath of being a traitor, that wasn't the real Captain America. But I bet you did not see that coming, right? Black Widow found the real Cap. They're up on the Sons of the Serpent ship. They took off Cap's costume and put it on some other rando to make it look like Cap was a bad guy. They did have the decency to give Cap some pants. They can't be all bad, right? So see, there's Steve Rogers right here, but you can see down there below, Goliath is fighting the fake Captain America. But at least they gave Cap some pants. So, pretty cool scene of Captain America fighting Captain America. I kind of dig that. And I did think that this panel was funny right here. He says, when you're brainwashing on me wouldn't take, you thought you'd bring in a ringer, eh? Well, remember this. There always will be only one Captain America, and that one is me. There will always be only one Captain America, and that one is me. Or Sam Wilson, or Bucky Barnes, or Isaiah Bradley, or John Walker, or the Adaptoid from Tales of Suspense that we just talked about. Some other, I think, Peggy Carter was Captain America in in an alternate dimension in some other comic I can't remember. So yeah, I did think that was funny because obviously in the 60s they didn't know, but it's funny looking back at that now. He says there's always only ever going to be one Cap, and that's going to be me. And then there's been like a dozen other guys who at some point have been Captain America. Anyway, it's funny. I liked it. So more fighting the Sons of the Serpent. It's trying to take him down, and they do. So, remember back to General Chen, I don't know if he's a leader, but he's a general in communist China. Well, the Supreme Serpent, he's been unmasked, but look, it's General Chen. General Chen was behind this hate group the whole time, and this this is the Scooby-Doo ending. This is the epitome of Scooby-Doo endings. Bah, everything would have worked perfectly if not for you accursed Avengers. I mean, that's I don't know if that was done on purpose with Scooby-Doo around in 66. I'm not too sure, but I thought that was hilarious. So, but this issue was kind of hard to read, and I made a note about it that I read comics to escape reality, and especially nowadays because the real world sucks. But this issue was tough because it's about a hate group who full of bigots and people who want the quote-unquote blood of America to be pure and all that stuff, and that stuff exists in the real world, and it has a bigger those types of people and those types of groups have a bigger voice now than ever, and I just don't like seeing that reflected in my comics. I want my comics to be for fun stories, just to help me forget about all the craziness in the world, and then we get a story like this. Obviously, they didn't know it was going to happen back then, but anyway. But that's that. So next issue, Goliath changes. I don't know how he's going to change. And what's interesting too is we see Black Widow hanging out. Well, you can't see her there. You see Black Widow sort of walking off with the Avengers. So I don't know if obviously Black Widow joins the Avengers at some point, but I don't know when. So that's going to be cool to see how and when that happens, because I honestly don't know when that happens. I probably should, but I don't. So we'll see how that goes. I'll be reading Avengers number 34 on Wednesday. Wednesday is Avengers Day. All right, Strange Tales number 149. This one is pretty quick because this one is also a twofer. of Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and also Doctor Strange. I only read the Nick Fury half of this title. I just didn't want to read Doctor Strange right now. I might pick up that book at some point in the later months and years, but I just didn't want to read the old Doctor Strange. So anyway, we do now. This, keep in mind, this sort of ties in with. I thought it would tie in better with Avengers. I'm sorry, Tales of Suspense. The Adaptoid, remember? I thought it would tie in a little bit better, but it kind of doesn't. But I think it's supposed to. So we see here that AIM operatives have stolen a life model decoy of Nick Fury, and their idea is to use that technology along with their own technology to develop artificial beings to make them better, right? And they also, they're pretty happy with this because they are going to use, these life model decoys, these LMDs are so lifelike that they are going to use this Nick Fury LMD to get into S.H.I.E.L.D. whenever they need to. They're going to send him in and he's going to bypass all the security and whatever. So that's their idea with stealing this Nick Fury LMD. Dum Dum Dugan with his team of football players from the 1920s. They're waiting for Fury's signal before they jump in and take down the AIM operatives. They're in a flying saucer, I guess. I thought that was a little strange. But all of a sudden, the LMD pops up. He must be malfunctioning, right? Wrong. It's the real Nick Fury. I don't know. Because remember the end of last issue, last week we talked about it. He jumped out of a window. Like he was in court. And he jumped out of a helicarrier and parachuted down to where Dum Dum Dugan was waiting for him. And, because while Nick Fury was in court, AIM was going to infiltrate S.H.I.E.L.D. I guess it's like the guys in the yellow beekeeping suits. Like, we know them as AIM now, but I think at this point in time, it was still them. Like, them was the name. I don't know when they become AIM. I'm assuming it's pretty soon. But so I don't know at what point the switch was made, but somehow at some point Nick Fury was able to get into S.H.I.E.L.D. and take the place of an LMD so that he is the real one. Oh, the page. Did the pages not load? Oh no. Okay, there we go. Like I said, I'm having. Okay, well, one of the pages didn't load. Oh shoot! It was the big action-packed page too. I think. Was it this one? No. Oh. I think it was anyway, the page it didn't load for some reason, so you can't see it here. Like I said, the Marvel Unlimited doesn't always work perfectly in the browser. But there it is. I guess we have to wait. Okay, cool. It did load. So basically, it's just a big fight between Dum Dum and Fury and the agents of them or whatever their name is. Just a big fight. It's pretty cool. Nick Fury's got a shirt off, looking all swole. And also, Count Royale, in all the commotion, is trying to make his escape, right? Well, Agent Sitwell uses a blow dart gun, I guess? Uses a blow dart to tag him with a radio transmitter so that they can track where he goes. Because remember, this dude is the head of AIM, Advanced Idea Mechanics, who, for all intents and purposes, at this point, is supposed to not be a evil group, even though they're in league with them, and them eventually becomes AIM, who become a group of bad guys. So I know it's a little hard to keep track of. But so he's trying to get out in all the commotion, and Sitwell tags him with a tracker. So I guess we'll see more of that maybe next issue, which I'll be reading on Thursday. And this is weird. I had trouble understanding this. So there's a couple of AIM agents that escaped the big battle, right? And they see an operative from another group called the Secret Empire, not related to the Secret Empire storyline that rewrote reality and made Cap a secret Hydra operative for his whole life. That was a terrible idea and a terrible story, and we will never talk about it. But It's a group, another group. Supposedly they were in Legion called the Secret Empire. I think he looks like Spider-Man. I made a note that he looks like Spider-Man in this panel on the right here. So he picks up these 2 remaining AIM or them operatives, I guess, and then raises a window between them and knocks them out with gas. So here's where I get confused. Because where was it mentioned? It's mentioned somewhere here that them is now finished. And that doesn't make any sense because they only had a few operatives. I mean, the entire organization was able to be taken down in one fight, and Gabe Jones here got the last 2. So for those who don't know, Gabe Jones is one of Nick Fury's buddies. Him and Dum Dum, they were in the war together, that kind of stuff. So he's a good guy. So Gabe Jones here on the right, he's a good guy. He's wearing a disguise. He's making it look like he's part of the Secret Empire to get their last 2, I guess, them operatives, and now them is completely gone. A little bit strange, but it is what it is. Okay. Yeah. So more to come on that. Oh, there was more about this too in. Gabe Jones' brilliant defeat of the Secret Empire is a highlight of Tales to Astonish number 83. I am not reading Tales to Astonish, so that part was a little bit lost on me, I guess. But it's just more confusing that I guess them is done now. Now, if you think about how them eventually becomes AIM, well, I guess it kind of makes sense because them... Oh, is it right here? It's this right here. Gabe Jones says, and that takes care of them. Does that mean the whole group or what? I don't really know. So, but it's weird that I just thought they were like this globe-spanning group, but after one battle, they're all defeated. So, more to come. We will see AIM pop up again because AIM exists from this point in time to where we're at now. So, we'll see how they come back. I don't really know how they will or when, but it's going to happen. All right. And last but not least, and guys, I appreciate you sticking with me. I've got about 10 more minutes before it's time to get the boy in bed, and then time to record another episode of Anything New. But we got one last issue to talk about: Fantastic Four number 55, featuring the peerless power of the Silver Surfer. So anytime Jack Kirby draws the Silver Surfer, it's a good day. This issue, so we can sense a theme here that I didn't really pick up on until we started talking. I didn't pick up on this throughout the entire of this past week reading these books, but as we're sitting here talking about them now, I don't know if it was planned this way or if it's a happy coincidence or whatever, but this is yet another story that's basically most of the issue is just 2 dudes fighting. That's been most of the books this week, right? It's just a fun week full of action-packed books. So remember last issue, the Fantastic Four kind of went their own way. Reed and Sue went on their honeymoon. Ben was in a hurry to get back to New York to see Alicia. Johnny and Wyatt Wingfoot were going to go try to get the Inhumans out of their impenetrable dome. And that's what, in that story, was what last issue focused on mostly, was Johnny and Wyatt's journey to the dome, trying to get to try to get the Inhumans out. This issue kind of runs parallel, I guess, with that, more or less runs parallel with that. And it's mostly about Ben back in New York. Dadgummit, the page none of these pages loaded. Uh-oh. Hang on. See, I don't know why these pages didn't load. Hold on one second. Let's try to... See, I'm connected, obviously. I'm streaming right now, right? But it says that Marvel, the site can't be... Oh, there it goes. See, Marvel Unlimited, I swear, you drive me crazy. Sometimes their app doesn't work sometimes either. Like the comics won't load. It's real weird. Okay, let's try this again. Let's Let's watch the little load bar go across the screen. Well, this one, we may be kind of... Jeez, there we go. No, this isn't my internet. This is how Marvel Unlimited works on PC sometimes. It's frustrating as all get out. All right. Okay. Like I said, most of this issue is Ben, focuses on Ben going to see Alicia. He hops on the Sky Cycle. He's going to go visit her. But lo and behold, don't forget about Silver Surfer. Galactus sort of sentenced him to stay on Earth back in Fantastic Four number 50. We haven't seen him since then, so I don't really know what he's been doing. I guess he's just been kind of hanging out, roaming around, doing something. I don't know. I did like this sequence, though, because this panel, I thought this was funny. These guys are so proud of their achievement of climbing this mountain. It was, nobody's been to the top of this mountain before. We're going to be the first ones. We did it. We're the best. Oh, wait, there's somebody here already. That's not fair. The Silver Surfer just flew there. That ain't cool. But, I mean, obviously, I don't know. I just thought that was funny. I just thought it was funny that, they were real proud of themselves, and then you look at the next panel, and then Silver Surfer is already there, and it was all for nothing, I guess. I really like Jack Kirby's Silver Surfer also. Look at this panel and the next one. I mean, that's cool, right? I mean, Jack Kirby drawing Silver Surfer, like I said, any day you see Jack Kirby, Silver Surfer, that's a good day. So in his quest to understand humans more, he's going to go visit Alicia, because remember, he sort of formed a small connection with her in issues number 49 and 50. He's one of the first humans that she's one of the first humans that he really encountered. So he's going to go see her some more. Alicia is apparently staying in the Addams family house, which is fine. And so they're going to hang out for a little bit. They're going to have some coffee or whatever, some tea. But then Ben shows up also, because that has to happen, right? He's going to, he looks in, and he sees Alicia hanging out with the Silver Surfer. I don't really know why Alicia's kind of like hanging all over him like that, but, whatever. Maybe he's cold. And so a large part of this issue is the Thing fighting Silver Surfer because the Thing is jealous. That's pretty much it. That's really it. And it's cool, though. I mean, it's Jack Kirby. There's some Kirby crackle right here, which is awesome. Jack Kirby's doing some great work. Silver Surfer and Thing fighting each other. Drawn by Jack Kirby, inked by Joe Sinnott. That's classic. Written by Stan Lee. This is a classic issue right here. Ben is clearly outmatched, but he's super pissed that his girl, that Silver Surfer's talking to his girl Alicia, so he's going to fight anyway. However, the story does divert back to Johnny and Wyatt for a few minutes. They're passing through the Himalayan mountains on their way to the impenetrable dome where the Inhumans are trapped. And they see this group of travelers who hear a noise. They're running from a monster, and it turns out that the monster is, and you can see in the shadow here, and it kind of flips back and forth. So we'll get back to this in a second. But the monster, quote unquote monster, is Lockjaw. I mean, it's clear by the shadow here. But before we get to that, it's back to the fight between Ben and Silver Surfer. Again, just like with Amazing Spider-Man and the Iron Man part of Tales of Suspense, Daredevil. This is basically just a big fight. This whole issue is a big fight, which is pretty cool, right? I mean, look at this. More Kirby dots. Kirby crackle. It's super cool. Yeah, I mean, they're just fighting. They're going back to... they go back to the city for some reason, even though you think the fight... Oh, Ben wants to take the fight away from Alicia because he doesn't want her to get hurt. So what does he do? He takes the fight to the city where a lot of people could get hurt, which I thought that was a little bit strange. But he does make mention of, at least I managed to get him here over the warehouse district where no one's liable to get hurt. So I guess everybody has a day off in the warehouse district on this day. More fighting. it's really action packed. A lot of Jack Kirby is really good at making you feel the impact of some of these fights. I've talked about it last week. Whenever I get to Captain America number 100, which I think is the first episode that we'll have in January, there's one panel that I love. Captain America just wailing on a guy, and you feel it, man. And it's right. It's the first panel on a page. Right as you turn the page, you feel this big impact. So Jack Kirby is really, really great at making you feel all of these hits and all of these, being thrown through walls and all these impacts. It's fantastic. More fighting though. Still, okay. So here we go. We're back to Johnny and Wyatt in the Himalayas, and there he is. There's Lockjaw. What are you doing here, Lockjaw? That's weird. I thought all the Inhumans were trapped in a dome. What's going on? Lockjaw, it's me, Johnny. You know me. He managed to get through the negative barrier, which is holding Crystal and the others prisoner. I don't know how he did it, but he did. He freed himself. But then if he was able to break through the barrier, of course, it means there is a way. There has to be. Lockjaw has the power to travel between dimensions, to transport himself anywhere. All we've got to do is learn his secret and find a way to follow him. And then Wyatt says, which may be more difficult than it sounds. So, and I think that's the last we see of them in this issue. The minute I saw that, though, facepalm thinking, please don't tell me. Please make it something more involved than all we had to do was just have Lockjaw teleport us out of the dome. Like, if that's all they had to do this whole time, it's been several issues since the Inhumans have been trapped in this impenetrable dome, and it turns out that all they had to do was have Lockjaw teleport them out. Oh, I really hope that's not going to be the case. I'm going to have a problem with that, because that's just silly. But I'm hoping, when Wyatt says that may be more difficult than it sounds, I'm hoping there's a little bit more to it. So we'll see. We don't see it in this issue. I'm assuming it's coming next issue. So we'll be reading that one this coming Friday. So that'll be the last one I read before next episode of Comics Daily Weekly. Anyway, we go back to Ben versus Silver Surfer. More fighting, more clobbering, I should say, not smashing, more clobbering. Ben brings down an entire building on top of Silver Surfer. Wait a minute, why am I in panel mode? There we go. It brings down a whole building. That's a pretty cool scene right there. I love that he's picking up a building and he's throwing it on top of Silver Surfer. That's pretty neat. Until finally, Reed and Sue intervene. Reed is pissed. Look at this. You've got to be kidding. Stupid Marvel Unlimited in the browser. I'm trying to zoom in. Okay, here we go. Let me read right here on the panel on the right. Reed's really mad. And I like the facial expressions here. Jack Kirby's come a long way in the 54 issues that we've read, 55 issues of Fantastic Four that we've read so far. Reed originally didn't look anything like this. Neither did Ben or any of them, and they all look really cool now. So, kudos to him. But, jeez Louise. Hang on. There we go. Let's see. Where am I trying to get to here? Ben realizes that Silver Surfer doesn't have feelings like that towards Alicia because he doesn't have feelings like that, period. He's an otherworldly being. He doesn't understand humans and how they work. That's why he was with Alicia, just to try to understand humans. It wasn't anything romantic. He's just trying to learn, right? And, of course, Ben, being Ben, he goes off half-cocked and won't listen to reason and that kind of thing. So, that's... where was it? Well, it's somewhere right in these last few panels is explained. Ben, somebody gets it through Ben's head that you're an idiot. Silver Surfer wasn't trying to move in on your girl. He's not Mr. Steal Your Girl. He's just trying to learn humanity. That's all. And Silver Surfer even helps Ben out by making some flowers magically appear in his hands. So, next issue, as you can see, I guess I can't zoom in on it, but you can see in that last panel, next, to free the Inhumans. So I guess next issue is going to be all about Johnny and Wyatt and Lockjaw finally cracking that dome open, or maybe Lockjaw just teleports them out one at a time. I don't know. But I'm assuming that's going to be the culmination of that whole storyline. So that's going to be pretty cool. So that's it, guys. This was a fun episode. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me for an hour and a half. I didn't intend to go this long. I figured I'd like to make each episode an hour, and with 6 issues every week. Now next week is going to be, or I guess the next. This week there's 2 annuals. There's an Amazing Spider-Man annual. What up, Pete? There's an Amazing Spider-Man annual that I'll be reading this coming Saturday, and a Fantastic Four annual as well. Which means more to talk about on the next episode. Yeah. But most of the time, every week is 6 issues. So I'm thinking 10 minutes an issue. We can wrap this up in an hour. But I ramble a lot because I love this stuff, and I could talk comics pretty much all day, every day. So it's been an hour and a half. I'm going to end it here. I got to get the boy in bed, and then it's time to record another episode of Anything New. The Anything New podcast with my buddies Opie and Pete. So that's going to happen on this channel right here. So I am going to go offline for probably about 15 minutes, but then I'll be coming back online, and we're going to be recording the next episode of the Anything New podcast. So if you want to stick around and listen to that for the next if you want to come back in about 15 minutes, go get a snack, go to the bathroom, get comfortable, because we're going to come back. We're going to be talking about cool stuff. But guys, I appreciate you hanging out with me for episode number 3 of Comics Daily Weekly. I have a ton of fun doing this. I am going to work on putting these on YouTube if you ever want to watch them that way. And I really would like to get these available as an audio recording or as an audio podcast so you can listen to those as well. But that's probably going to come a little bit later. But regardless of how I do it or you watch or listen to it, I have a blast doing it, and I'm super appreciative that you guys hang out with me. So if you want to keep up with these comics every day, just follow @_Comics Daily on Twitter. That's where I read and talk about these comics every day before we come here on Sundays and talk about them all at once. So I'm going to go for now. I'll be back in just a little bit for Anything New. But until next week for the next episode of Comics Daily Weekly, I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.